Orlando, Florida at the Impact Wrestling Arena. A new #1 contender will be crowned at this pay-per-view to take on TNA World Heavyweight Champion Austin Aries for the belt at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view on October 14th. We're going to get you guys ready for this Sunday's pay-per-view. As you know what time it is. It's match prediction time, folks. The RCWR Show Call That Match special begins right now.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
And a very good Saturday afternoon to everybody. This is the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. You're checking out a special edition of the RCWR Show, as it's our Call That Match edition. During the course of the next hour, we're going to be getting you guys ready for the TNA No Surrender pay-per-view that's going to be coming our way live on pay-per-view. It's going to be a pretty fantastic pay-per-view. Definitely got a lot that we're going to be covering, as I'm going to be offering my match predictions on who I think is going to be walking away victorious from Sunday's pay-per-view. Of course, you guys know you can interact with us right now, as we got the chat room that's live, active. It's loaded right now. Feel free to jump on in there when you get a chance at blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. You can also interact with us during this episode on Twitter. Just hit us up at Infinity1Prod. While you're at it, take the time out to also send us a shout out on Facebook, as our page has been getting quite a bit of feedback. Love hearing that great feedback. Hit us up on Facebook at Infinity1 Productions on Facebook. All right, folks. So for those of you that had saw TNA Impact Wrestling this past Thursday night, you definitely know what you can expect at this Sunday's No Surrender pay-per-view. Now, for those of you that were not fortunate to check out this past Thursday night's Impact Wrestling Live, have no fear, we have you guys covered, as every single Thursday night we cover TNA Impact Wrestling on a little radio show that we do Thursday nights immediately following Impact Wrestling, called Impact Showdown Radio. Do yourself a favor, you can check out our archive section at Blog Talk Radio, and you can check what all you've been missing. If you missed last week's episode or the week before, definitely will get you caught up to date on what all you've missed. You can also subscribe to that episode in the iTunes Zune marketplaces just by using the keywords the RCWR Show. So when it's all said and done, folks, I definitely feel that with regards to the TNA No Surrender pay-per-view coming our way Sunday, it is definitely not going to disappoint. I have just been very impressed with the top-notch quality of pay-per-views that TNA Wrestling has been giving us really since the beginning of this year, as the streak has just been continuing. They have just been on a non-stop streak. I see no reason why TNA No Surrender would suddenly end that streak. I definitely feel that all the matches that we have coming up at Sunday's pay-per-view, definitely top-notch quality, definitely will not be any disappointments whatsoever, as of course one of the main key highlights of this pay-per-view is that the Bound for Glory series will finally come to an end, as we will finally know who will be the #1 contender to face the TNA World Heavyweight Champion Austin Aries for that TNA World Heavyweight Championship at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view coming up live October 14th on pay-per-view. This is pretty much TNA Wrestling's version of WrestleMania, if you will. So the stage could not be set any higher. Let's go on ahead now and let's tackle some of these matches that you can expect to see at this Sunday's pay-per-view. And we got a pretty solid card right here, folks. So first up, we have the long-awaited, anticipated return of the TNA X Division champion Zema Ion, who has been off television within recent weeks. It seems as if the last time we had saw Zema Ion, he had defended the X Division championship against Kenny King. If I'm not mistaken, he had put that title on the line against Kenny King at TNA's last pay-per-view. Well, this time around, we see Zema Ion, who is going to be taking on the returning Sonjay Dutt. Now, this match right here, I definitely feel this would be a pretty strong opener for the pay-per-view, but I'm just going to go down the card as I see each match playing out. I'm not going to really pay too much close attention to the order of the pay-per-view matches here. But Zema Ion is going to be taking on Sunjay Dutt. Here is a match right here where you, the TNA wrestling fans, you're looking at this. You know that these two men are capable of putting on a very decent type of match, especially Zema Ion. Let's definitely give the credit where it's due to Sunjay Dutt, as when he was with the TNA Wrestling organization a couple of years back, he definitely had some pretty memorable matches. Of course, some very notable programs as well. Who could forget that one program he had with the Black Machismo, Jay Lethal, and the whole SoCal Val hand in marriage? That was a pretty solid storyline that had happened right there, right before Sunjay Dutt had left the organization. Here's a match right here where I'm looking at this and it looks really good to me. I know that this match will not be disappointing. I know that this match will probably be a 4.5 star out of 5-star type of match. The only problem that I have with this particular match is that there is no type of storyline behind this. Now, we all know that Zema Ion, he has been really coming off as a jerk. He's been coming off as a heel. He has just been saying all kinds of derogatory things about what all had went down with Jesse Sorsen, who he had injured unintentionally several months back. Jesse, as we all know, he's going to be coming back very shortly, as we saw when he appeared at the TNA Slammiversary pay-per-view. He said that he should be back sometime early 2013, and that when he does come back, he's going to be looking to take that TNA X Division title off of Zema Ion, if he just so happens to still be the X Division champion by the time he returns. So the seeds are definitely planted by TNA Wrestling. It's definitely writing on the wall that they want to try to capitalize on what all had happened involving these two men. It's definitely going to be a pretty sweet payoff if they can set this up right. But one of the main things that has been of great concern to me within recent weeks has been the way they've been utilizing Zema Ion. It seems like every single time Zema Ion is starting to build some type of a momentum, he is just kept off of television for an extended period of time. Now, one could probably sit up and argue that, hey, we did have the Bound for Glory series going on. Probably would have been a little bit difficult to try to squeeze him in there. I beg to differ. We saw the TNA Knockout Champions, tag champions that is, Eric Young and ODB pop up in little backstage skits. We saw them pop up and do a skit in the middle of the ring. Precious airtime that should have went to the TNA X Division champion so that maybe he could perhaps find a new #1 contender. And this is definitely a match right here where I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about what had happened on Impact Wrestling this past Thursday night, where we had saw Hulk Hogan trying to figure out who was going to be the contenders to face Kazarian and Daniels for their TNA tag titles at Thursday's Impact Wrestling, as it was revealed to be Chavo and Hernandez, but Daniels and Kazarian would defeat them. But check this out, folks. Just minutes later, we get an announcement made by TNA General Manager Hulk Hogan that Daniels and Kazarian will be facing AJ Styles and Kurt Angle for the tag team title. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, well, if they were going to be involved at the No Surrender pay-per-view either way, then that precious airtime that was spent on Impact Wrestling would have been better suited for Hulk Hogan to try to find a new number one contender to take on Zema Ion at the pay-per-view. That just really would have made a little bit more sense to me. But this is what we have right here. We have to deal with this match. Zema Ion versus Sonjay Dutt. Really no storyline in this. This is a clear-cut choice right here. It doesn't get any easier than this. My money is on Zema Ion. Zema Ion, he needs to keep the belt. He is just really a good wrestler. He's definitely has a great mouthpiece. It's just he needs to be given more camera time to be able to improve his craft, as it seems the longer he's kept off of Impact Television, the less effective he is on the mic. So I definitely, despite all that, I gotta go with Zema Ion for the retain. The smart money at the finish line is going to be him taking on Jesse Sorsen for this title. So, clear-cut pick right here. Zema Ion for the victory. Now, going forward, if I was booking this right, I would love to have Zema Ion, once the Bound for Glory series is in the books, I would love to see Zema Ion start popping up on Impact Wrestling television again, start getting into a few feuds. I think now is the time that you start utilizing him. If Jesse's going to be coming back early in 2013, this calendar year is pretty much in the books. Let's really start pushing Zema Ion. So hopefully now, we can definitely see Zema Ion step it up and start popping up on television more. Same argument can be made for Sunjay Dutt. Let's see what happens right here. It'd be very disappointing to see Zema Ion not show up on Impact Wrestling, but show up at another pay-per-view. Definitely going to be some disgruntled fans right there that'll look at that as kind of a bit alarming. Next up, folks, we were just talking about Daniels and Kazarian, which brings us to our next match, which sees Daniels and Kazarian defending the tag team championships against Kurt Angle, the Olympic gold medalist, and the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. This is definitely going to be a solid match right here, folks. Can definitely reassure you of that. Now, with this particular match, I was definitely a bit on the fence with this one, because I'm saying to myself, so far, it seems as though when the TNA tag team titles are on the line and Daniels and Kazarian has to defend them against Kurt Angle and AJ Styles, they just have not been able to defeat these two guys. As let's not forget, it was just back on June 10th, earlier this year, at the Slammiversary pay-per-view, that AJ Styles and Kurt Angle were able to pick up those tag team titles. But let's not also forget that just about 2 weeks later, maybe 2.5 weeks later, we saw Daniels and Kazarian pick those titles back up on an episode of Impact Wrestling. And now here we are again, as these two tag teams are going to be getting it on. Now, the clear-cut choice would obviously be to perhaps maybe pick Daniels and Kazarian, right? Well, yeah, that's pretty much the way I'm going to go with this one, folks, because I know a lot of people, they're probably looking at this and they're probably saying, no, I think Kurt Angle and AJ Styles, they need to get this one. I beg to differ, and I'll tell you the reason why. Daniels and Kazarian, they have one thing that's going on for them right now, which is they have a ton of heat. There are people that just can't stand them. There are wrestling fans that just hate their living freaking guts. They want to see these guys continue to get their butts handed to them. I am just loving that. I mean, look at what all we have seen within recent weeks. We saw Daniels and Kazarian be revealed to be the masterminds behind trying to sabotage, slander the good name of AJ Styles by saying that he had got Claire Lynch pregnant. Turned out none of that was true. So you have Sting, Hulk Hogan, they're looking at these two guys right now, and Daniels and Kazarian, and they are just not feeling these guys. The tag team champions, they are not on good graces with upper management right now. And look at what we had just saw on TNA Impact Wrestling this Thursday night, as we had saw Hulk Hogan try to figure out who was going to take on the TNA Tag Team Champions for those belts, as he was looking to put them in action and he was looking to possibly have them be stripped of those titles, but it somewhat backfired. So now here we are again. Hulk Hogan, he's going with two men who he feels could definitely get the job done right here. Now, I'm looking at this and I definitely was marinating on this when I was looking at this particular match. And I'm saying to myself, you know what? Keeping in mind that they got the whole Sting, Hulk Hogan heat going on them right now, I think that can definitely manifest into something very big, very explosive if they handle this right. I just do not see the need for Kurt Angle and AJ Styles to get the tag team titles right now. I want to see both of these two guys eventually go back to having a respected championship run. Definitely one more championship run for Kurt Angle, AJ Styles. It's definitely time for him to have another run at the big belt again. But for right now, I would like to just see these two guys continue to be in the main event picture. I just do not see them being TNA Tag Team Champions right now. I definitely would be a bit shocked if they were to be stripped of these titles again. It definitely would send a loud message that Daniels and Kazarian just does not have AJ Styles and Kurt Angle's book. But I'm considering what all we had saw on Impact Wrestling within recent weeks. Definitely that huge upset that Daniels and Kazarian had got when they surprisingly defeated the team of Chavo and Hernandez to retain their tag team titles. I'm definitely looking for a huge upset right here. But you know what? We're going to see an actual wrestling match when it comes to this contest. Four guys that definitely know how to put on a clinic. This match definitely is not going to be disappointing. A lot of fans, I expect, will be talking about this match. So definitely won't be disappointing. You got four great names right here in this ring that's going to be throwing it down. Definitely should be a 4.5 star out of 5-star quality type of match right here, folks. Moving along now, let's go with our next match that's on the card, as we see RVD is going to be taking on Magnus. Now, this match, folks, just like Daniels and Kazarian, was announced at the last few minutes of Impact Wrestling Live this Thursday night. And the way this came about was we had Magnus, who had just interrupted Rob Van Dam, who was talking with the lovely Christy Hemme, and he was about to give his reaction to being eliminated from the Bound for Glory series, as he had took a defeat 2-1 Bully Ray, and Magnus just came out of nowhere and he said to Rob Van Dam, hey, it looks like maybe you're starting to lose your touch a little bit. Is it possible that you're not quite the man you used to be? RVD, he took offense to that. He took a cheap shot at Magnus, and all hell just started to break out, and this is why we have this match right here, folks. Now, I definitely have been loving this new demeanor that's been coming out of Magnus. It seems like Magnus, ever since he got out of the whole tag team stable with Samoa Joe, it just seems as though Magnus has been walking around kind of becoming a pompous jackass, if you will. And I'm really feeling that. I'm loving it. It's giving him a new layer. It's making him somewhat fresh. It's definitely making him relevant right now as he's been getting a little bit more TV time. So I'm really loving it. I'm loving the fact that Magnus has been coming off really as a bitter person, because let's not also forget Magnus has suffered a defeat 3 weeks back at the hands of Samoa Joe. And it's funny because he also took a shot at not just only did he take a shot at RVD this past Thursday night, but he had also took a shot at Samoa Joe. So he's been really pushing that whole pompous jackass card. I'm definitely going to be very curious to see how this match plays out. I know if I was booking this, I'm thinking about this very carefully here, I definitely would love to see Magnus pick up the win. He's starting to get just a little bit of momentum going under his belt right now. I would love to see him continue to pick that up. I really don't see RVD picking up this win. This win really does not do anything for RVD. I kind of like that sudden hint of RVD. Is it possible that he's not the whole effing show anymore? Is it possible that RVD isn't quite the same man that he used to be? What happened to the Rob Van Dam that once held the ECW championship and the WWE title at the same time? I definitely would love to sit up and see some type of a storyline develop with RVD, because quite honestly, we've been getting the same RVD for a good amount of years right now, which has been this pretty laid back, hey, it's cool, you're cool, I'm cool, dude, we're all cool type of guy. I'm ready to see a new layer be unpeeled from RVD. As much as I love seeing him do the 5-star frog splash, the Van Daminator, I love all those classic moves, man. But the way I'm looking at this right now, I want to start seeing something new develop with Rob Van Dam. So Magnus, I definitely am going to pencil him in for the victory right here. I think he really needs this win just so he can have something to boost about, and he can just continue to pop up on Impact Television, kind of rub it in, and just rubbing elbows with other wrestlers on the roster. I think it would definitely be pretty cool, and then we could just continue to see him find himself in some messed up situations, and he's trying to figure out a way to how to get out of it. But Magnus, I have right here to get a victory over Rob Van Dam. Next up, folks, we got our Bound for Glory series semifinals match. As, get this, we got Bully Ray taking on James Storm. That's right. Now, James Storm, since he is still on top of the leaderboards, he was able to pick who he wanted to face in the semifinals, and he chose out of Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe, he chose Bully Ray. That's right. Out of the three, he chose Bully Ray. I was looking at this match and I had to sleep on it. I was sleeping on this as soon as I heard it announced. I tried to approach this the next day, and for the love of me, I spent several hours just looking at this match, and I'm saying to myself, this could go either way. Now, we just heard that Bully Ray had recently signed a new deal with TNA Wrestling and that he's going to be sticking around the organization at least for the next 2 years, while his good friend Devon has not re-signed a deal with TNA Wrestling, and it looks like definitely these two are going to be working for separate promotions, something that has not happened for the duo in quite a number of years, good amount of years at that. So I was taking in that little piece of news that I had found out, and I was looking at this match, but even at that, I just really had a hard time making up my mind right here. And quite honestly, folks, I'm looking at this now. I made a selection. I did make a selection, but I must admit, I'm looking at this, and it is really one of those type of matches that could go either way, folks. Let's really break this down right here, because this is a very significant match, I feel, of this whole entire pay-per-view card. We have Bully Ray, who has been doing everything in his power to become a better wrestler. Now, this man has sat up and he has done such a tremendous job transforming himself in recent years. This is the very best that Bully Ray has been thus far in his entire career. Now, we know everything that he has successfully done as a tag team champion, but we are talking about what has been happening since he's been a singles competitor. And this man has just been on one hell of a roller coaster, to the way he just looks physically, which is phenomenal, as he's just continued to put himself in a position where he is in really great shape. He seems to be more healthier. He just has this whole different demeanor about him. I really like this character. He's definitely a modern throwback to true heels of yesteryears. Really love this guy. He can definitely work a crowd, get his ass beat at a pay-per-view, but then still come back and still have that momentum. Not too many heels can do that. I mean, we actually saw a few months there where Bully Ray just kept getting his ass handed to him, folks, and he still had the momentum on his side. So we're looking at everything that's been happening with Bully Ray so far, and you kind of sit up and you say to yourself, okay, well, at the age of 41, might it possibly be the time for Bully Ray to finally get that recognition that he deserves? Might it finally be time for Bully Ray to go to that next level on that path to become a TNA World Heavyweight Champion? I definitely feel at this point in his career, being in his early 40s, that Bully Ray is in the best position right now to become a future TNA World Heavyweight Champion. I have proclaimed that once before. I have definitely gone on record and said that it will happen. Could it happen at any other wrestling promotion? I definitely highly doubt it. Maybe it really depends on just who that promotion is. Could it happen in WWE? That's a definite no. Could it definitely happen in TNA? Yes. Will it happen in TNA? Yes. But the real question is, will it happen at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view? This is where it gets interesting. Do we see Bully Ray advancing to that final match to determine that new number one contender to face the TNA World Heavyweight Champion Austin Aries at the pay-per-view? Well, folks, really thought about this here, and right now, the way that I am feeling about this, despite all the great praise that I just gave Bully Ray, I just don't feel right now is the time for Bully Ray. Now, folks, let me just tell you the reason why I don't feel that it's Bully Ray's time right now. I'm thinking about what all we've been seeing happen with the TNA World Heavyweight Champion Austin Aries, and I'm comparing his title reign right now to that of Robert Roode. And Robert Roode, say what you want about the guy, because we do have that hardcore audience that just really did not like Robert Roode, but they're missing the things that just made him a awesome TNA World Heavyweight Champion. It didn't matter if he was on a pay-per-view. It didn't matter if he was on an episode of Impact Wrestling. It didn't matter if he was on an episode of the Open Fight Night edition of Impact Wrestling. The man was always involved in some type of a wrestling match. I can't help but compare how Robert Roode was as the TNA World Heavyweight Champion to that of Austin Aries. I am almost kind of left under the impression that TNA management isn't quite sure what to do with Austin Aries as the champion. I mean, really think about it here, folks. We only have seen Austin Aries involved in two major matches since he's been the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And both of those had consisted of facing Robert Roode. Other than that, there really hasn't been anything happening for Austin Aries. Now, some will sit up and they'll look at what he's going to be doing at Sunday's pay-per-view with one of the Aces and Eights members. But technically, for me, this really doesn't make that much of a significant difference because he's not going to be putting the title on the line. So I'm kind of looking at this right here and I'm saying to myself, as much of a Austin Aries fan that I am, I'm just really questioning the direction that TNA management is trying to go with Austin Aries as the champion right now. It's probably one of those things that's coming off to me as if maybe TNA Wrestling feels that maybe they pulled the trigger just a little too fast in making Austin Aries be the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Now, I think he's a phenomenal athlete. I definitely feel that he's a good TNA World Heavyweight Champion, but it just seems like the way he's being utilized as of late, it just seems like he really just isn't really being utilized properly. He's just really coming off as if TNA management really is not quite sure what to do with him, and that just really concerns me. Now, James Storm, on the other hand, I'm looking at the Cowboy and I'm saying to myself, this is the guy that never really had his chance to run with that belt. He never really had a chance to sit up and really have a good tryout as the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And I'm just really looking at this and I'm kind of saying to myself right now, well, Bound for Glory is a month away and we'll definitely deal with that when the time comes. But as far as who I would like to see be in the Bound for Glory finals match for the TNA No Surrender, I definitely will have to go with James Storm going over Bully Ray, folks. So that's how I'm looking at it. Definitely was a tough one to choose here. I definitely was sitting up and I was looking at this. I said, man, this could go either way. It can still go either way. It really would not surprise me that much if Bully Ray were to get the win right here. But again, this is about how I would book this. It just makes more sense for me to see James Storm get the victory over Bully Ray. Let's move along now with the next match that's on the card, folks, as the other Bound for Glory series match that we have. We will be seeing one Samoa Joe take on Jeff Hardy. Now, here's a match right here that I'm looking at and I'm saying to myself, man, let's not forget what had just happened on Impact Wrestling Live this Thursday night where we saw Jeff Hardy pull out of nowhere a Anaconda Vice and was able to make Samoa Joe tap out. That's right, folks. I can't believe I'm saying that. Jeff Hardy made Samoa Joe tap out. And here we are again. These two guys are going to be getting it on. I'm looking at this match right here. And I'm saying to myself, as much as I love both of these guys, one has to come out of this. This was definitely another one that was a bit hard to choose, but it was easier than the Bully Ray versus James Storm match. For this one, I'm definitely going to have to go with Samoa Joe, and I'm going to explain to you the reason why. Jeff Hardy, look, the ladies will always love him. The men, they will always love him. They will want to be him. Women will want to be with him. Little kids will always look up to him. He's going to have that fan base regardless. I just don't quite feel that Jeff Hardy really needs this right now. Jeff Hardy, to me, he's just been kind of coming off more in a back burner type of sense. I just can't really picture him going into the Bound for Glory semifinals. I just can't really see him, honestly, going to the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. Why that is, I'm not really sure. I think what I'm leaning more towards is the fact that Samoa Joe, he has just been silent for so long without having a shot at the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. It can be said that, hey, maybe it really is Samoa Joe's time. And the way he has just been dominating in the Bound for Glory series, he's definitely been very commanding, pulling out all types of submission victories, pins. Definitely has been looking very impressive within recent weeks. This is a contest right here where I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, you know what, Samoa Joe definitely is the way to go right here. He needs this. I definitely would love to see Samoa Joe going to the semifinals, folks. So I got Samoa Joe going over Jeff Hardy. So for you guys that have been keeping track so far, you now know what that final Bound for Glory series match is going to be, which is going to be Samoa Joe taking on James Storm, and we'll definitely touch up on that, as that'll be the last match we'll cover of the night, where I'll definitely let you guys know who I'm going to be picking as the Bound for Glory series winner to take on Austin Aries for the big belt at Bound for Glory. Let's go on ahead and let's move on with our next match here, as we got the TNA Knockouts Championship on the line, as the beautiful, the lovely Miss Hooters girl, Miss Tessmacher, will be putting it on the line against Tara. It is basically a case of the student versus the teacher, if you will. The storyline that's put out there is that Tessmacher has learned so much from Tara within recent months, within the past couple of years, that she wouldn't be a TNA Knockouts champion right now if it was not for Tara. And as we had saw 2 weeks ago on an episode of Impact Wrestling Open Fight Night Edition, we saw Miss Tessmacher challenge Tara as she wanted to prove to herself that she was deserving of being the TNA Knockouts champion, but was very stunned when she was not able to beat her teacher, her former mentor. And it really had her questioning herself and her ability and her legitimacy as a TNA Knockouts champion. Brooke Hogan would come into the picture right here, folks, as Brooke Hogan was very pleased with how Tara had responded in this match with Tessmacher, and was very impressed with the victory, and decided to reward Tara by giving her a match against the TNA Knockouts champion for the pay-per-view coming up Sunday. So the storyline definitely has been made, set, it's intact. We got the seeds planted. This is the match right here. Definitely, I'm looking at this. I love Tara. I love Tessmacher. Both of these women are very beautiful. I definitely love Tara more. I have just been a longtime fan of hers since she was Victoria in the WWE. That's how long I've been following her. I've been a fan of her since the moment she debuted in the WWE. 41 years old, for her to be able to go out there and still throw it down. I mean, she doesn't even look 41, does she, folks? She looks like she's probably in her mid, maybe late 30s. She's been holding herself up pretty damn good within recent years. I'm looking at this match right here, and the first thing that jumps out in my mind, especially if you all are also TNA Knockout fans, hopefully this match will be at least 10 minutes long. I know 15 minutes is really pushing it, but if we can definitely get 10 solid minutes of great knockouts action, I think a lot of us, doesn't matter if we're guys or girls, a lot of us will definitely be pleased at this. So this match right here, it's definitely going to be off the chain hot. It's going to be off the chain good. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to this contest right here. Now, when it's all said and done, the way I would book this, I love both girls. I love Tara more. Tara, that's my girl. Always will be. I got to go with Miss Tessmacher right now. I just am really liking the idea that Tessmacher finally is able to beat her mentor and really solidify her legitimacy as a TNA Knockouts champion. I just feel that Tessmacher needs it. Now, some would argue no, Tara is the way to go. Tara has Tessmacher's number. Yeah, she's her mentor, but I bet you she probably hasn't taught Tessmacher everything that she knows. She definitely has the more in-ring experience. That definitely can be a very good argument, but I think this is purely a case of Tessmacher becoming even more hungrier, becoming even more determined to really dig down deep and really prove to herself, the naysayers, that she can definitely beat all newcomers and that she deserves to be that knockouts champion, that she deserves to be holding on to that belt. So I think this is a case where, despite Tara's in-ring experience, you know, she's been to the dance many times. She's been a knockouts champion before. She's been a women's champion in other promotions. She has a lot on her resume. But despite all that, Tessmacher is going to be the more hungrier one right here that has a lot to prove. I have Tessmacher picking up the victory, retaining her title over Tara. Next up, we have Austin Aries taking on a member of the Aces and Eights. Now, I definitely was paying close attention to what all we had saw on Impact Thursday night, as really this match somewhat was announced, but it wasn't really official. But I guess they're going on ahead and they're saying that it's definitely going to happen. Austin Aries is supposedly going to be taking on the Aces and Eights member that had broke his arm. Now, I'm looking at this right here, and I'm saying to myself, okay, you definitely want to be pretty clever right here with the writing. Now, I'm looking at this match, and I'm saying to myself, how would I set up and how would I book this exactly? Well, if I were to do this, I think the way I would set up this pay-per-view, folks, is that I would do this in a way where throughout the night we would have Austin Aries and Hulk Hogan, possibly Sting, if we can get him to pop up for a few minutes. Good luck with that. We know how Sting is. Sting come in, hit somebody with back, get checked, leave. We don't see him again for a good amount of time. But let's get serious here for a minute. We got this match right here. Like I said, I would love to see Austin Aries show up throughout the whole pay-per-view night, interacting with Hulk Hogan, Sting, few others, trying to find out what's going on with Aces and Eights. And then I would definitely love to see Austin Aries maybe say something in the ring, say something along the lines of he hopes that Aces and Eights are not going to try to back out of their deal, that he will be taking on somebody tonight. And hopefully we can see the aces and eights pop up in maybe a video that will pop up on the Titantron, and the lead gang member will sit up and say, look, we'll definitely meet you, but it's going to be at our time when we say so. And then we can set it up so that when Austin Aries finally is starting to become a bit impatient, he goes down to the ring and he's waiting for aces and eights to show up. Well, he finally gets his wish, and we do see aces and eights. They come down there. I would kind of like to see something similar happen to what we had saw actually this past Thursday night, where a member had came down there. And actually, not even this past Thursday night. I apologize, folks. I'm actually thinking about what had happened 2 weeks ago, as we had saw aces and eights sit up, and they had sent one of their guys into the ring to take on Austin Aries, and it was a one-on-one contest for a little bit, but then it had quickly turned into that gang pack mentality as aces and eights had attacked Austin Aries. Well, I definitely would love to see something like this happen at Sunday's No Surrender. So I think you kind of see where I'm going with this right here. I'm not exactly looking for a Austin Aries victory. I'm looking at this to end in a no contest. That would be the smart way to go. That way you can definitely pick right back up on this on the next episode of Impact Wrestling Live. Help further along the Aces and Eights storyline. But when it's all said and done, hopefully we'll definitely find a few pieces of revelations at Sunday's pay-per-view. I definitely would love to see Joseph Parks perhaps pop up, and maybe he could reveal that he found out some important information about Aces and Eights, that he knows who some of them are behind those masks, and that he's going to be revealing it on Impact Wrestling this Thursday night. I definitely feel it's about time we start winding it down now, because we're already starting to hear those moans and groans from some wrestling fans that feel as though this storyline has been playing out for too long. And when you really think about it, folks, this Aces and Eights storyline, my how time has flown. This Aces and Eights storyline has been happening now for 4 months. Can you believe that, folks? It's been 4 months now, and we still do not know. Well, we have an idea of who some of these men are, but it hasn't been made official yet. So we have to go with the latter and say, hey, we got these guys running around with masks on, and we still don't know who exactly they are. It's definitely about time to start winding this down. But with regards to Austin Aries facing some member of the Aces and Eights, like I said, no contest. That's the best way to go, folks. Let's move along now. We got the final match of the evening, which is the Bound for Glory Series main event. As I said earlier, I have Samoa Joe advancing. I have James Storm advancing. So it's going to be Samoa Joe taking on the Cowboy, James Storm. Now, I'm looking at this right here, and this definitely was a nail biter. I was looking at both of these names, and I'm really looking at Samoa Joe, and I'm saying to myself, he has not been in a main event quality type of match for a long time now. Samoa Joe, Austin Aries, they would definitely tear the roof off. They definitely would have a fantastic type of match. They definitely could do something maybe 2-3 months back to back if they set it up right. I definitely love that idea, folks. Definitely. Let's go to the other side. The Cowboy, James Storm. We got the guy who has only been to that dance once. He had that taste of that TNA World Heavyweight title. Seemed like he was definitely on the right foot. Crowd was behind him. All of a sudden, that reign had abruptly ended. He's been climbing. He's been fighting. He's been growling his way back to the top of that mountain known as the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Here's these two guys getting it on. Just how exactly will this play out? Well, for this contest right here, folks, I'm definitely going to be going with none other than the Cowboy, James Storm. That's right. I'm going to go with the Cowboy, James Storm, for this one. Now, just think about this for a second. How badass, folks, would it be to sit up and see the other half of probably one of the best TNA World Tag Team stables of all time in beer money? How badass, folks, would it be to see the former half of the TNA World Tag Team Championships, the Cowboy James Storm, follow behind Robert Roode from last year's Bound for Glory series? Remember, he was the one that had won it last year. How badass would it be to see the Cowboy James Storm somewhat follow in those footsteps and win this Bound for Glory series to go on to face Austin Aries at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view? It's got a nice little ring to it, folks, doesn't it? Very nice ring. A damn nice ring. That's the route that I'm going with this one. As much as I love Samoa Joe, let me tell you something with regards to Samoa Joe. The little subtle hints that I had saw of his dealings with Magnus, it definitely suggested in my mind that Magnus and Samoa Joe, they are not done. It was a nice subtle touch that they had gave us. Now, some could probably argue, well, Samoa Joe, he could definitely win it, and maybe he could actually challenge Magnus on an episode of Open Fight Night. Yeah, I could definitely appreciate that argument, and definitely it was something that I was thinking about as well. But I'm really, really looking at this contest right here, and the smart money would be for James Storm to pick up the victory. Now, look, if I was doing this right, I would actually kind of have Magnus maybe try to interfere possibly in this match and possibly cost Samoa Joe the victory. I definitely would love to see Magnus show up twice on this pay-per-view. I mean, for me, folks, this is just a smart way to go. You just have Magnus sit up after he gets a victory over Rob Van Dam. He still has in the back of his mind what all had went down with Samoa Joe. Maybe you have him cause a little bit of interference in that match, or you can actually have him have a little bit of a backstage segment with Samoa Joe, and the two of them get into a fight. And as a result of that backstage fight, Samoa Joe comes out. He's not exactly 100%. And that's how James Storm could pretty much get the victory that way. But Samoa Joe, in either case, I just see him continuing some type of program with Magnus. So keeping all that in mind, definitely I'm going to be going with James Storm to win it all, folks. James Storm will be your Bound for Glory series winner to go on to face the TNA World Heavyweight Champion Austin Aries for that big strap. So that's going to do it for the TNA No Surrender picks for the RCWR Show Call That Match edition. Let's go on ahead right now and let's just recap for you guys. So let's kick it off with that X Division Championship match. In that contest, folks, I have Zema Ion retaining his title against Sonjay Dutt. For the TNA World Tag Team Championships, I have Daniels and Kazarian pulling another upset on Kurt Angle and AJ Styles. For our third match of the evening, I have RVD losing to Magnus. That's right, Magnus picking up the win over RVD. And our first Bound for Glory Series semifinals match, I have Samoa Joe defeating the Enigma one, Jeff Hardy. For our fourth match, I have the Bound for Glory Series semifinals, of which I have James Storm defeating Bully Ray. In our sixth match, the TNA Knockouts Championship, I have the lovely Miss Tessmacher retaining over Tara. Seventh match on the card, I have Austin Aries taking on a random member of the Aces and Eights, ending in a no contest. Definitely much needed right here, folks. And in our Bound for Glory series main event, which sees Samoa Joe versus James Storm, I have the Cowboy James Storm winning that main event match and becoming your new number one contender for the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. And folks, that's going to do it for my match predictions for this RCWR show. Call That Match Special, covering the TNA No Surrender pay-per-view that's going to be coming our way this Sunday live on pay-per-view. What are your match predictions? We definitely would love to hear from you when you get that chance. Definitely feel free to tweet us your match predictions by hitting us up on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. You can also share your match predictions with us on our Facebook page at Infinity One Productions. While you're there, take the time out to like our page and befriend us. You can also send us a video reply of your match predictions, 2 minutes or less, please. Send your predictions to us at our YouTube channel at the RCWR Show. You can also tout us your video, as we are now on tout. Hit us up at the RCWR Show. Best match predictions, if you're on the spot, you got all of them right, guess what? We will definitely show you some love when we go on the air for the RCWR post show covering the TNA No Surrender pay-per-view. And that definitely is going to be a fantastic post show, folks. That's going to be coming your way live this Sunday at blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. You definitely want to make sure that you check that out, as all throughout the night on Sunday we will be sitting up on Twitter. We'll also have our chat room open on Blog Talk Radio. We'll be interacting with TNA wrestling fans as the TNA No Surrender pay-per-view is on. It'll all lead up into us covering the fallout of the pay-per-view with live fan reaction. So if you're going to be checking out the pay-per-view this Sunday, definitely interact with us on Twitter and Facebook. Definitely interact with us on that post show, as we will be opening up the phone lines, reading your comments on Twitter, Facebook. It's definitely going to be a very interactive show. Well, folks, that's going to do it for now, but we'll see you this Sunday live for the RCWR post show covering the TNA No Surrender pay-per-view. In the meantime, folks, be sure to subscribe to us in the iTunes, Zune Marketplaces, keywords, the RCWR Show, and definitely check out that Stitcher app that's free in the App Store. You'll be able to take all our episodes with you, play them on your portable devices for your listening pleasure. Smartphone, Android phone, doesn't matter. You'll be able to play them. Stitcher, new and smart way to play internet radio. That's going to do it, folks, as always. Until we hear from you all this Sunday night at 11 p.m. Eastern for the RCWR post show covering the TNA No Surrender pay-per-view, I'm the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. You all be safe and you all be kind to one another, folks. We'll see you this Sunday night. Take care.